Hey friends, you're tuned in to the Learn or Be Learned podcast, a show where wisdom meets curiosity in order to discover the human experience. I'm your host, Shiva D, and remember, you either learn from or you're learned from. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, welcome back, friends, to another great episode. This is another Enlightened Nomad series episode, basically a monologue episode by yours truly. And without further ado, let's get right into this episode. So this episode's about tribal units, which kind of stems off of episode 82, where I talked about networks and genuine connection building. This one dives a little bit more into the philosophical and anthropological understandings of that, right? So in anthropology, we often call tribal units, which are a tight-knit community, we often historically call them bands in anthropology. And so in anthropology, a tribal unit, often referred to as a band or bands in anthropological terms, is amongst the earliest forms of human social organizations. This even predates back further than the agricultural societies, right? So we had nomadic pastoralists back before we had sedentary agriculturalists, and this is where we had people roaming around, essentially, is what a nomad is. And we couldn't form massive societies around that, because imagine having 100,000 people roaming around and trying to create cohesion and organizational hierarchy, right? You couldn't do such a thing. So they're often composed of, you'd say, maybe 20 to 50 individuals max, that usually extended it to families of multiple generations is where you would see. And this was very beneficial because as moving nomads that were always in search for food and resources, it was beneficial for us to share the workload and then share the resources rather than all of us fight for ourselves, right? Rather than having a nuclear family and fighting for resources individually, we would have larger communities and fight for resources together and then share those resources amongst us all. And this actually, obviously helped pass on and help our species survive. So here we have, relating this back to our contemporary times, we even see this in modern team building practices of various communities, whether it's martial arts, whether it's your office, right? We see groups of communal bonds, shared experiences, and collective wisdom being reciprocated, or at least tried to. And that's the essence of what a tribal unit is. And I think this type of stuff is so important because we start to realize people like to be in the in crowd, right? Most people will not go against the group out of a primitively deep-rooted fear of being exiled from the group. Because if you were exiled from a tribal unit, your chances of survival diminish significantly. So I think it's really important to understand this portion of our primitive, subconscious, biological brain. I believe it comes from the brainstem area, I believe, is where the primitive hindbrain exists, but don't quote me on that. Going back to it though, a very interesting topic in anthropology that stuck with me is this idea that our biological evolution has practically stayed the same while our cultural evolution is growing at an exponential rate, which means there's a larger and larger disparity in how our ancestors operated and thought and how we are having to adapt in these modern contemporary times. I believe we're going through our third or fourth revolution at this point that I would consider the technological revolution. We had industrial, agricultural, right? And I'm drawing a blank on the first, but so either third or fourth revolution at this point. And I mean, we see it today. We're already growing symbiotically with technology. Most people have their phone within, 1 foot, 1 meter of them. That is already, close to cyborg level as it is. Now we're talking about chip implants and things like that. And so we are living in unprecedented times, and things are going faster and faster. So I think this type of information is so important to understand, because if we don't understand this disparity that's growing at an immense rate, we will be left confused and hopeless and lost. And that's what I hope to shed some light on through an anthropological lens. But going back to today's episode, I want to talk about this idea of tribal unit and its role in success, mindset, achieving goals, things like that, right? So meshing the old with the new. So I think a tribal unit is important because it can help you with a shared purpose and a collective goal. If you are looking to lose weight, one of the easiest ways to do it is to join a fitness class. One, you make friends, develops accountability, you all have a shared purpose of getting fit, and it helps the collective conscience. I love this idea that where attention goes, energy flows. And the more attention given to something, the more energy that flows in that direction, right? So you have a class of 30 people doing an intense HIIT cardio workout 3 times a week, right? There is momentum that's built there. And the more you go, the more you siphon off that energy of inspiration, change, growth, right? That collective purpose. And I think that's something that's really important when it comes to tribal units and success and whatever your endeavor is. If it's wealth, joining organizations like GoBundance or Tony Robbins coaching and things like this to help you, go to the next level and think differently, all sorts of things. So another big one that I've kind of already touched upon is accountability and peer support. I would say a huge benefit is accountability. For example, I always look for people in this content space because it can get kind of lonely. So I look for people that are also in the same boat as me, maybe a little bit better or a little bit worse. So I can always help somebody, run at a pace with somebody, and then look up to somebody. And that's kind of helped me. And Patrick David, a great entrepreneur, mentioned this as the formula for life and every endeavor he does. And it's very important to have someone above you at your level and at a lower beginning level than you, so you can, kind of do everything full circle, right? You pass on the knowledge to somebody else that was given to you. So accountability is huge. And when you go to these podcast conferences, for example, I go to these podcast conferences and I meet people. Next year, I go to the same conference. If I go there and say, yeah, I haven't really done much, the podcast hasn't done anything, I haven't really grown from it, the podcast hasn't really grown in any way, and they think, hey man, it's been a whole year, nothing's changed, and you'll sense that from people, and that'll make you think, well, maybe I gotta do something differently, right? Because if I'm stuck in this cyclical pattern, then clearly something is not working. I need some sort of catalyst to exacerbate this change. So that can always be really great to go to things like conferences and networking opportunities and things like that, because you not only meet accountability there, you also meet people that are trying new things. So this can spark ideas as well. Another one is resilience through collective mindset. I think that's huge. It's much easier to face challenges together. I love the quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Which is true, right? Because you'll burn out if you go fast and go alone for an extended period of time. I understand the idea of bootstrapping, and sometimes it is required. But that being said, I have friends in the music space and things like that that I consistently keep in touch with. And although we have different art forms, it's nice to go together, right? So we're going fast and alone, but at the same time, we're going far and going together. And I actually think that's the best of both worlds with that quote. I think doing both is the key. So I think if you surround yourself with accountability partners, support, a shared collective vision, and resilience through this collective vision, what more do you need to succeed? You have the tribal unit, right? I think people misunderstand one of the biggest key factors in success is often who you're surrounded by. If I'm trying to grow and reach new heights, but I'm surrounded by people that just want to go get drunk every Friday and Saturday, then I'm going to get sucked into their realm. And here's something that's very difficult is it's better to have no friends than bad ones. Not everyone that has the shared and same vision as you is considered bad. Maybe they're just in a different space. But when I mean bad, I mean people that are bad for you, that don't support your vision, support your goals, support your mindset, and would rather see you stoop down to their level because it makes them feel comfortable. Because when people see you succeeding, it makes them uncomfortable because it has to make them look at themselves and the areas of life that they're weak in, which is a huge reason why people drink in the first place. It's to escape something. I think if you can face that, and it's very, very difficult to do, but worthwhile if you can say, okay, it's better to have no friends than bad ones, right? Quote unquote, bad friends. What you're doing is you're leaving space for, the world, the universe, life to fill in that space with somebody else. You can never, for example, you won't find a better job with a higher pay if you stay at the same job for 20 years, right? If you look at all these people job hopping every few years, they're getting significantly more pay. Why do you think that is? Well, one, they create a vacancy from their current position to allow for a new position to come in. And perhaps this isn't the best example, right? Because people quit and then start immediately. But whether it's relationships, whether it's wealth, so to reiterate, the timeless value of tribal units and its principles extends beyond the idea of ourselves and truly can help us understand what it means to have success, to have the life that we want through the mindset and goals that we achieve. So I encourage you guys to seek and create your own tribal units, be a part of something, be a part of a group, whatever your goals are. It doesn't mean you can only be in one, you can actually be in multiple groups, and I very much encourage that. I have friends in the co-living real estate space. They have a community. Obviously, we have podcasting space and many communities here. I'm trying to build a community for you all. I would love to have you in my community in the future, create a tribal unit here, and help me help you build your best self. So thanks all for spending your time. I don't take it lightly. I really do appreciate you investing your time with me and growing on this journey together. So, please share this with anyone that you think needs to understand this idea of tribal units or would think this idea of tribal units is interesting and its role in our success mindset and achieving goals. So, and I'm looking forward to growing this journey with you all. If you guys have a second, please give me some feedback. I do in the show notes, I keep key takeaways, noteworthy quotes, all the materials and episodes and people, books, everything like that mentioned in the episodes will always be in the show notes as well. There's a summary, timestamps, all of that is in the show notes. If you are looking to reach out, connect with me, my email is there. There's also, Instagram DMs and things like that. So would love to hear your feedback. Obviously, that's what this community is for, that I'm trying to build in due time. So it's a little bit easier to get some feedback. But until then, thanks everybody. Thanks for checking it out. And remember everyone, you either learn from or you're learned from. Thanks.